Hello all, let's look at the solution for Shah Rukh Khan and his shoes. Let me tell you the question first. The question says that we are given an array A which has n numbers and each number represents a shoe, and two shoes with the same number become a pair. Let's look at the sample input 0 for a better understanding. So the first line contains the number of elements in the array, and the second line contains the elements of the array. So the elements of the array are 1, 1, 1, 4, 5. So each of these numbers represents a shoe. So if we see the first two numbers as 1, it means that they represent a pair of shoes. And the third one and 4, 5 don't have a pair. So they don't represent any pairs of shoes. So we have only one pair of shoes, that is the first two ones. So the sample output will be 1. Now let's look at the other example. The number of elements of the array are 4 and the elements of the array are 1, 2, 3, 4. If we observe, there's no number which has repeated twice or more than twice. So there are no pairs of shoes in this array. So the output will be 0. And let's look at the constraints. The number of elements of the array will lie between 1 and 100, both included. And each element of the array will be greater than or equal to 0 and will be less than or equal to 100. So now let's code the solution. So for this task, you will be given a function called number of shoe pairs, which has the array and the number of elements in the array as the arguments. So for this task, let's take a count array whose size is 100 plus 1. Why is it 100 plus 1? Because the constraint on a of I is that it's between 0 and 100. So if I want to include both 0 and 100, I should take the size of the array as 100 plus 1. And I initialize all the elements of this count array to 0. So we can do it like this. And this technique works only if we want to initialize it to 0. If you want to initialize the whole array to 1, writing this doesn't work. It works only for the number 0. And let's take a variable I also. So now let's loop through the array A. So I0, I less than n, I plus plus. What do we say? We say count of A of I plus plus. So what are we doing here? Let's understand. So let's look at the example. We have 1, 1, 1, 4, 5 as the elements of the array. So now initially I is equal to 0. So A of 0 is 1. So what does it become? It becomes count of 1 plus plus. So initially count of 1 was 0. So now when we say count of 1 plus plus, count of 1 becomes 1. So now when I becomes 1, we again see that A of 1 is also 1. So again we say count of 1 plus plus. So previously count was equal to 1. Now count becomes 2. So what are we doing exactly here? So if count of 0 is equal to some x, it means that the number 0 has appeared x number of times in the array A. So if we say count of 1 is equal to 3, that means that the number 1 has appeared 3 times in the array A. So for this array, what will it become? Count of 1 is equal to 3. Count of 4 will be 1, which means that 4 has appeared once in the given array. And count of 5 is also equal to 1, which means the number 5 has appeared only once in the array A. So that's what we are doing in this line. So next, we take a variable called shoes. We initialize it to 0 and we loop through the count array. So I0, I less than 101, I plus plus. We say shoes is equal to shoes plus count of I divided by 2. So suppose count of 1 is equal to 3. So when we have 3 ones, what does it mean? It means we have one pair of shoes. The other one will be left alone. So count of 1 is equal to 3, which means 3 by 2 equal to 1. which gives the number of pairs of shoes. Suppose if count of 1 was 4, then 4 by 2 is 2, which means we have 2 pairs of shoes. So that's why we are doing count of I by 2. So at the end we return we return shoes. So now let's run the code and see if it's working for the sample input. Okay, it's working. So now let's submit the code and see if it's working for all the test cases. Okay, it's working. So this is the solution for the Shah Rukh Khan and his shoes problem. If you have any queries, do comment.